Hello, all you freaks out there. This is Ryan,
Hey, Ghost.
and we have got Ghost with us tonight. Not a ghost with us, but Ghost, my co-host with the most, coming at. Oh, we might have a ghost with us. You never know around this house.
Who really knows? Like what, the other night?
Yeah, the other night was weird. We had a show with Angel May. She is a gemologist.
Crystals.
Chris, we were talking about crystals, right? And towards the end of the show, we heard what sounded like.
In the middle.
Yeah, middle, kind of middle end of the show. Okay, we were talking. Angel was talking about something, and all of a sudden, we heard like either like a creak. I thought someone had stepped in the hallway. Like my girlfriend Angie had come out of our bedroom. So I looked back there, and of course our door was shut, and I didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden, we both heard this like audible sigh behind us.
Yeah. It was really like a hiss sigh. It was like
yeah.
It was like
Yeah, it was really weird. But it's like I said, I don't know what's going to happen tonight.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I guess we'll see what happens. Let's see what's going on since Sunday. Our last conversation. Well, we took RJ to the doctor's office.
Whoa.
And I say we, I meant me. I took RJ to the doctor's office today. Turns out he has got mono.
Love that for us.
So,
whoa.
that's a lot of fun for us over here. And he is not a happy camper. Tell you what, he's sick. So we got to keep that in mind. But yeah, it's not pleasant over here. Luckily he's sleeping now, so
He's not sick tired, he just keeps all his energy. Like,
yeah,
why?
Be one thing if he was sick and just tired and didn't want to do anything. That'd be just kind of relaxing. Yeah, I'd be like, okay, well, I can deal with this. But it's the whining, it's the everything that comes along with it. He still wants to, do stuff, but when he does stuff, he complains about it because he's tired.
You are shaking in my arms because you have a fever. Just lay down.
Yeah, I took him. We're driving back from the doctor's office, and it was like probably maybe. I want to keep on saying late 80s, but it's not. I mean, or upper 80s. There's late 80s here in Richmond. It was upper 80s. I think early 90s, lower 90s, and it was pretty warm in my car. And he was like, "I'm freezing," so I had to cut the AC off everything and drive home with no AC, which was not fun. But when he got back to the house, he was like freezing. His shirt was soaking wet from the sweat. So
Sweetheart is not having a good time.
No, it was not been a good time over at Casa de Freak over here. But you know what? We'll get him better, and he'll be as good as new. Hopefully soon, because like I said, it is not fun. So, other than that, not much going on over here. It's been hanging out. We've got an awesome show for you guys tonight. We've got Taryn Kerper. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but I figured I'd give a little flair to it. Taryn Kerper coming on tonight. She is the host of Paranormal Brew. Speaking of brew, I just brewed myself some coffee. Actually, I used a Keurig, so I'm not sure if that's actually brewing coffee or not. But it's decaf, so it won't be up all night. I did determine that this is decaf. I did get tired eventually.
Did in fact go to sleep.
I did in fact go to sleep. So I am happy to report I am drinking decaf coffee. Anything else you want to talk about? She's almost out of school. Ghost over here is going to be a junior next year.
I just want the summer to start.
I'm ready for the fall, so there's that. I'm ready for the fall. I'm done with the heat. I'm about done. All right, let's go ahead and put Taryn Kapare Taryn Kerper
You were struggling.
on the show right about now. Is it working? Hello?
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. All right. Turned you up some. I can hear you, but make sure everyone else can hear you.
So I'm sorry to hear about your boy over there. I hope he feels better.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's like I never had mono before, and I'm like, where the hell did he get it from? And it's like, you think mono, you always think it's like the worst thing ever. But the doctor's like, it's just a virus. He'll get over it.
The way Mom reacted, she was like, "Oh no, his strep was negative," and she's like, "Oh no, it's mono," and she's like calling people, and I'm like, "Mom, it was."
When I was a kid, you heard someone has mono, you might as well have been the Black Plague. As far as I know, it's like, oh my God, he's got mono. Should we start making plans for the funeral now?
Yeah, it used to be known as the kissing disease. You know, too many people get mono, but I'm in the medical field. I've been in the medical field since I was 17, and there's been 90-year-old women that come in and they have mono. You know, they have just like an infection at one point.
You never know. Those
and you don't know it, and once you have that EBV, the Ebola, in your system, it always kind of relays dormant, and it can always have a flare up. So
you never know. Those 90-year-old women, they could get around the nursing home, take their dentures out, and have some fun.
No idea.
You never know these days.
So true.
But I mean, the doctor was like,
Hey,
the dog's saying hello.
My baby.
Well, he wants to be in the show. I don't blame him.
So you had it right. It's Karen Purple, but I do like that little flair you gave it. So we'll just go with that.
Terry compare. Yeah, which I figured, just to add a little bit of a flair to it. So how is life treating you? How's everything in your side, your part of the world, part of the country, I guess?
Oh, well, I live in New Jersey, so I should just sum it up for everyone.
It's not too far. Oh, well. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, living in New Jersey, you spend your whole life trying to get out of New Jersey. So, but, no, it's great. I love where I live. I live in a small little town, and, I'm very, very busy with Paranormal Brew. This past April, I celebrated 5 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
I celebrated 5 years of doing the show. And so that was a big thing for me. And the Paranormal Awards, they nominated me, I think I was second best podcast in 2021. So I know it's like, everybody kind of laughs at them and whatever, but for me, it was an accomplishment. Even if I didn't get any placement, just being nominated felt good because people that listen to you would had to, write in and say who they thought was the best. It wasn't, multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant a lot to me to even be nominated. So that was cool.
That is very cool. I don't think this show will even sniff an award for anything. So I am very happy. You got like I said, it's a great accomplishment. You got recognized by your peers, and that is really awesome.
Yeah, it definitely. I do the show. I love doing the show. I mean, I'm sure you love doing your show. I love talking. I love meeting people, and I love learning things. When I first started the show, it was mostly as a matter of fact, all ghost, if you will. I'll just use ghost for lack of a better, term, but it was all ghost related. I never really ventured into anything else because that's all I really knew, and was interested in. And then once you get into the field, you realize that, there's all this other cool stuff, Bigfoot and UFOs and Ouija boards and seances and all this, all kinds of cryptids and people that actually know a lot of shit. Can I curse? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, trust me, it is
Fine.
absolutely fucking okay if you curse on this freaking show.
What did you say?
Absolutely fucking okay if you curse on this freaking show. I don't care. It's all good.
Oh.
Hopefully the kids are in bed.
So, yeah. So I mean, when I first started with that, and then I just started saying, "I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about other stuff." And I started to just venture out and word of mouth. And luckily, so far, all but one of my guests have all been very knowledgeable and educated and well versed in whatever research it is that they do. I've had parapsychologists on. I've had doctors on that do paranormal investigating. Jason Hall from Ghost Hunters, Sherry D. Benedetti, and a lot of good people, and people that I respect and look up to.
That is so cool that we get the chance to talk to these people and kind of like me with you, picking your brain about the paranormal, about how you got started and learning more about these people and their paranormal adventures.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's great, too, because a lot of people, my whole goal was to, one, give some recognition to peers. Not that Jason Hall needs that, but,
yeah.
Other people that come on. There's paranormal groups, and there's people that, like I said, like the parapsychologists that are doing research in our field that we don't realize they're doing it, and to get that, get that out there to people. And if one person leaves walking away like, oh, that's awesome, and I learned something new, and I'm going to look into that, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason, why we do our show on the, to give groups, different little groups, a chance to talk about their, how they got started and some of the evidence they've been able to capture, and then also being able to talk, like you said, talk to people like you yourself and learning about how you got started, and just getting your story out there so other people can maybe learn from your experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's every day I'm learning, and I love it.
Yeah. One thing I've learned.
Learning, so.
One thing I've learned about this field is like the more I think I know, it's like, the less I really know, I guess.
Absolutely. And I mean, I believe in spirits, ghosts. I believe in that stuff. I've had too many experiences and whatever that is, we can't never necessarily even say what it is that we are capturing or experiencing or communicating with. We have no idea. But we'll just call it, ghosts and spirits and stuff, but, I'm a believer in that. However, I'm also a very healthy skeptic, so I think not everything paranormal. One of my best friends is Kenny Biddle. He's a huge skeptic. And every investigation I go on, he's invited, because I want him there, because I want to be able to know for sure what it is that if what I'm dealing with is or isn't. I don't want to go down and while I'm in the middle of an investigation, you only have 4 hours, and you think you're communicating with something, and it turns out to be whatever. It's just good to have somebody else, another perspective to kind of, when you go into a location and you're already a believer, it's kind of hard to, stand there and be like, every single thing you're saying no to as well,
Yeah, it's good to be skeptical, but it's also good to have an open mind as far as like,
Absolutely.
if you guarantee everything's not paranormal, then you're never be convinced. But if you go there with an open mind and be like, all right, well, I'm willing to accept something as paranormal if A and B and C don't, pan out, I guess. But if some people just can't be convinced. Like, it doesn't matter if a ghost comes up and smacks them in the face. It'll be weird. It'll be like, oh, is this hallucination or something like that? There'll always be an explanation for it,
Yeah. I mean, you think about the word paranormal. Paranormal is not normal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, under that umbrella is everything. You know, the Bigfoot. I will say, you know, I'm not a believer in Bigfoot and stuff like that. I'm not in the Jersey Devil at all. Like the Jersey Devil, I absolutely believe is just a myth or a legend that grew. I think a woman had a deformed child back in the day, and they were weird about that stuff, and they did weird stuff. So I think this, you know, story grew about this kid, and it's the Jersey Devil, you know. But, however, I did go Bigfoot hunting one time, which was interesting. I'm open-minded. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I also have not. I have to have an experience, I guess, in order to say I believe in it.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat with you on that. You know, I'm not saying they don't exist, but you know, I've never had experience with Bigfoot before. I've had experiences with ghosts.
Right.
You know, I've captured EVPs. I've heard things. You know, I've seen things. So I believe in ghosts because I've seen it. But
Right.
you know, you don't know. You're not truly a believer until you have something actually happen to you, and then you know for sure that they're out there. I don't know for sure that Bigfoot's out there because I haven't seen I haven't seen evidence of myself that there is Bigfoot.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I mean, a lot of people that do my friends that research Bigfoot, you know, I respect them. They believe. They believe that they're onto something. You know, that there is, and some of the stuff that they do find is kind of, you know, but it's the same boat with us as well. I mean, I can play an EVP for somebody and they explain that to me, you know, and 9 times out of 10 you can't explain that. You know, there will be times where you can say, oh yeah, this is what it was and what it was, but for the most part, you know, EVP is just my favorite type of evidence to get because it's, especially sometimes I'm clairaudient sometimes, I hear, so I'll hear whatever I heard, and then on the recorder, it's validated because you hear it. You know, you'll hear whatever I heard, I say it, and then it's also captured on the recorder. So I don't know how to explain that at all.
It's really that's really cool. You get verification of what you heard in real time, and plus, you know, when we're sharing evidence like EVPs or even videos of Bigfoot captures, there's a lot of trust that has to go on between the people. When you say, hey, this is, you know, what I captured. There was nobody else in the room. This just me and let's say either by yourself or with a friend. Be like, hey, this is, you know, wasn't any of us. People have got to believe that you're telling the truth. And the same thing with Bigfoot evidence. And that's when I never understood why people would want to fake evidence. Even once would be so detrimental to what we're trying to do. You know.
I'm real big with that. I'm real big with integrity and, you know, reputation, and when it comes to that, like, you know, so I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that think I'm a bitch and whatever, you know, that's personality. But as far as me being an investigator and being a show host and, you know, and me being not the most, you know, I'm so honest and I'm confrontational when it comes to, because I hate drama.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I hate drama. So, you know, I keep to myself as far as, you know, gossiping and stuff like that. But if anything does come up, I go straight to the work. Right to the person. I don't mess around. I don't talk about anybody. I just go right to the person. Say, okay, what is this about? You know?
Yeah.
But I don't even know where the heck I was going with that.
Well, it's a breath of fresh air to hear that, because a lot of times people, I don't know, they don't hear. They like to hear one side of a story or one side of something, but then they don't try to get the other side of the story. And there is a lot of paranormal drama that goes on, unfortunately. And I don't know if it's competition or what. You know?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, there's no competition. I'm not. I'm not in this to be on TV. I'm not in this to be famous. I'm not in this to do anything like that. Like, would I love to do what I'm doing and get paid for it? Absolutely. You know?
Yeah.
I would love for this to be the best job in the earth, on the face of the earth, that to investigate and do your show and, you know, do live videos, all that. You know, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that for a living? And some people are blessed to be able to do that for a living, but, you know, I mean, it's just like what I said, you know, just the kind of, the education, the learning, the trying to find, doing the research and the history, all of it, you know, everything. I love it.
I think with streaming and, you know, going on YouTube and, you know, making videos like that, there's a lot wider audience than there was if you're trying to get a TV show. So if someone wants to,
Right.
you know, do haunted investigations and they want to build up an audience, it's possible. They can do that organically, and where it's not like I've got to compete with these people for a limited amount of airtime. If you know, take time and you want to go out and you want to investigate and you do a good job, eventually people are going to start watching, and the world is going to, the word will spread about you, and you'll get what you want.
It's just tough.
It's a lot of work, but because there's a lot of oversaturation as well. You know, so you got to stand out and do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Just like these.
Yeah, it's,
just like a podcast.
I'm sorry?
Just like a podcast,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not delusional thinking like, oh my God, this show is going to reach like tens of thousands of people. You know, it's just, but
Right.
you know, if you have this, if you work hard at it, people are going to enjoy it, and that's what matters.
Absolutely. And and that you're having fun.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started, I didn't care. I honestly didn't care. Like, I was just like, this is awesome. Like, because we literally would sit around, drink coffee, or we would, drink a beer, and like, we had some of the best conversations when we were just sitting around. Some of the best, like, paranormal, conversations, and like, we should just, like, video this and, like, and then share it, or do something, And at first it was just, like, we were, on the internet radio,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually I discovered Facebook Live during, COVID, and I was like, or not COVID. I don't know how long ago it was, but we discovered Facebook Live, and then, from there, it just kind of just kept going. So a lot of the earlier episodes that we did, I did have a couple of other people doing it with me at one point. And I've been solo probably for about 3 years now, but I did have a couple of people doing it with me, and we just would do whatever we want. And some of the stuff is, I can't even go back and watch. I wish I could delete it, but I'm not. I'm like, I'm going to put it out there, and if people watch it, they're going to see how ridiculous I was when I first started. Like, they look back, and I'm like, oh my God, if I was going to come out like that now, nobody would watch my show.
Yeah, it's you start just with like anything else. You start when you first start off, you're a lot different than you are now because you learn and you grow. And I guarantee when you listen to this show or listen to a show you did Sunday, 2 years from now, it'll be like, oh my God, because each show you learn something and you grow from that. When I started this show, it was like, all right, well, my friend Dennis, he had two shows, one on Monday and one on a Wednesday, and he got tired of doing two shows. Our shows back then were 2 hours long, so he was asking if anybody wanted to take his time slot on Monday night. So I'm like, well, I'll try it out, almost as a challenge to myself to see if I could actually do it. But I didn't think it was gonna last very long. I'm like, oh, I'll be like a month,
And then,
I'll be tired of it. But then it just kept going and going and going and going, and now it's like, I don't know if I could stop it because I'm so used to doing it now. It's like I don't know if I would even want to try to stop it. It's just fun.
Yeah,
It's just
that's so true. I mean, It is really fun, and besides the show, I'll go. There was a couple of times where I went, to some believed haunted locations in New Jersey. So I went to Batstill Village and the Pine Barrens, and back at all these places that supposedly are haunted or have stuff going on. And I go live and I walk around. I go off into the woods and start walking around and whatever, Gettysburg all the time. All the time I go to Gettysburg. So I do other stuff just besides the podcast. But the podcast has been the set time and day and, this and that. The investigating stuff I do when I do,
Yeah, I mean, you always come down to Virginia and investigate the cabin with us.
Oh yeah.
It's not that much farther down the road from Pennsylvania to come down to Virginia. It's just a couple hours.
Yeah, Virginia, I think it's probably about 4, maybe 4 or 5.
Oh, that's doable.
So I think Virginia,
that's easy.
Something.
You did that blindfolded. Actually, no, you can't. Don't try that. But
no way.
What is your favorite place you've investigated?
That's such a tough question.
How about let's do top 3, so you don't offend anybody or feel bad about not leaving people out. Because sometimes people are like, oh my god, I want to make people feel bad. So let's do top 3. And I want to ask you your top 3 worst locations. So don't worry about that.
I'll be honest. If I don't feel comfortable answering something, I won't. But you can ask me whatever you want. But I would say my top 3, and I can't really put Gettysburg there because I'm like Gettysburg. I guess obviously is like my most favorite place to investigate because every time I go, I get awesome evidence, and it's just so I can't count that because it's just a given. So I'm gonna say Rolling Hills Asylum in New York. I did early on. I did an investigation for, I don't know if you ever heard of the school Rutgers. It's in New Jersey, but
yes.
Rutgers is college.
Yes.
The professor for the agriculture studies or whatever lives in a really old farmhouse, and he called a friend of his one night and said, all this weird stuff is happening in my house. Now, this is the professor that, is teaching at Rutgers College, and he's like, I only know what is textbook. I have no idea how this can plot, did what it did and this and that. So I'd have to say, that was cool because the farmhouse was late 1700s, and it was on acres and acres and acres of land where it's open to the students if they want to,
Mm-hmm.
So it was one thing, that I had to take into consideration. But some of the things that happened that night was pretty cool. And I think it was like I said, it was early on. So I was actually, we were getting actions with equipment and stuff like that. So because it was so active, I was wet behind my ears still. I always say that it was one of the coolest places ever. So Rolling Hills, and then we have to say Penhurst.
Wow.
Penhurst Asylum in Pennsylvania. I love going there. I've only been to Rolling Hills once, but it was so amazing that every time I talk about it, I just smile and I just love it. I want to go back, but the drive is so long.
How long of a drive was it for you?
7.5 hours.
Oh, damn. That is a long drive.
But it was 7.5 hours of nothing but straight and boring. And it just took forever.
Tell you what, the cabin's looking better and better.
Yeah.
We're only 4 hours away. So just keep that in mind. Put a little nugget in your head right there.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted... I definitely want to check out Rolling Hills. That seems like a great location to investigate. and Penhurst.
Amazing. Yeah, Penhurst is definitely very, very. For some reason, they had like several tunnels there and everything, and the one tunnel. Every time I go down there, like I've worked. I did some events, like I helped them out with like events and stuff like that, like during October. So they'll do like overnight ghost hunts and stuff, and a couple of us were signed up to go out and help with taking the groups around to all the locations on the property and everything. So that was really cool because it's kind of like, I'm like, all right, I'm investigating. People are like, you get paid for that? And I'm like, I'm investigating customers for free. That's like, because unfortunately, you got to pay for stuff to investigate, and I get it. But investigating customers for free was, to me, was, payment almost. So it was cool, doing all that stuff. But the tunnels there, I mean, disembodied voices, and I mean, there's been groups where, these are people that are just paranormal enthusiasts, wanting to do a ghost hunt, and they're getting full-body apparitions on picture, and stuff like that. So the spirits there are very interactive with, even when there's a big, huge event going on, and there's, thousands of people there. I mean, they're active.
That's awesome. And I think sometimes people will go to a big place, they'll pay a lot of money, but they won't get a lot of interaction with the spirits. And it's like, I think a lot of times for me, when I look at it, like, go for the experience. If you get evidence, that's great. But don't count on it, because stuff happens or doesn't happen. Like when people, I guess they go fishing, they go on a big fishing trip, but don't catch anything. It's not that the fish aren't there. It's just they weren't biting, or it wasn't a good day.
Good analogy. I like that. That's a good analogy because it's true. And it's true because I'll go live during an investigation. I'll go live the entire time. And you have those like 7 to 10 people that are they hold on strong the whole time they're there with you, no matter what. Then you have people that come and go and they're in and out and stuff. But people want to see the drama, like the dramatization of investigating. They don't want to see you sitting in the dark for an hour and just listening to the room and maybe asking an easy here or there, and talking about what diner you're going to go to afterwards. It just, people don't want to watch that stuff. Not interested. Unless you're really an investigator and you like what's going on and you sit and watch it, because I've done that. I've watched teams when they go on. I'll watch their live, for support, or just to see their techniques of investigating, what they're picking up, and if they're just too much or they're drama or I feel like they're full of shit, I don't watch anymore.
Yeah, it's so cool being able to, I guess, be a part of an investigation without actually being there. And you can watch all these different teams from all over the world do paranormal investigations. And you can support them. If you like watching investigations on TV, why not go online and watch a team, some random team in like Nebraska do an investigation or something like that, and interact with them as well, which is not something you can do with stuff with the teams that are on television.
Yeah, I'm big on that. I am big on supporting other podcasts, other paranormal researchers and teams and events. I'll share everybody's everything as long as they're legit and real and are a good influence in our community. And if you're not, then I can't do that.
Well, I've noticed you've shared lots of my live feeds from the cabin, and I appreciate that. Even commented on some of the streams we do out there. So, I definitely appreciate that for sure.
And I share share them out. Like I'll watch them and then I share them to my page or share my pages. Because I also, I'm part owner of a streaming network called BB3 TV. That's more of a variety type of a network that's not just paranormal. They have gamers on there. We have people that do wood burning. We have people that there are paranormal. We have some paranormal real estate. There's paranormal tourists on there. They kind of get this. I stream on there obviously, and then but it's all kinds of stuff, and so that's fun, and doing that kind of takes up a lot of time as well. So I'm also trying to run paranormal through, but then I'm also trying to help my partners with BB3 TV, and it's fun.
You've got a lot of you wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
Is it hard to keep it straight? Is it hard to find time to get everything done, juggle everything?
Yeah, there's like so much. I mean, even what's been lacking is me listening to my audio from investigations that I've done. Like I'm listening to something that I went to Cashtown last year. I investigated Cashtown Inn, and I'm listening to the audio today, and this was June 2021 that I went. I'm like, this is so bad. This isn't how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to listen to it right away because it's still fresh in your brain. You remember things. You remember what was that noise, or so it makes it difficult to wait so long to do it. But when you don't have the time, it's like, that's the frustrating part about it.
Yeah, it is easy to fall behind when it comes to listening to audio from investigations. And there are times that I'll say the same thing. I'll be like, oh crap, I gotta listen to this investigation. But then, like you said, it's if it's not fresh in your mind and it's like, unless it is completely like, oh my god, this is for sure something I heard or did not hear, I end up throwing it out. I could be throwing out good evidence, but if I can't verify it myself, especially if I'm in a group, if I go to an investigation with a group of people, and we're all in a room, it's like a year later, I can't, verify if someone said something or not. Yeah, I mean, if someone says whispers help me during an investigation, I would pretty much assume that it's not one of us. Because if you need help, why are you whispering it? So stuff like that, I will be like, all right, well, this can't be. I mean, again, I'm assuming that there are people that I'm with who take it seriously, won't be whispering shit to fuck with me,
Yeah. You always gotta check. I'm so big on that. Like sometimes people, and that's why I say, like, I tell people, when I was at Penhurst one time, and one of the workers for Penhurst was walking around with me, and she just like jumps up, and now mind you, the people that are there are enthusiasts. They watch the TV shows, and they're they really don't do this. They're just coming out to for a scare for Halloween in October and this and that.
Yeah.
And he's like acting like something's attacking him and this and that. And I'm like, could you sit down? I'm like, there's nothing attacking. Like, just sit down. Stop being like that. Like, you just see the fear in some of these people's faces. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go home with something. Am I going to go home? And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, just sit down and shut up. There's nothing here that's hurting or harming anybody. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll get those people that come out to the cabin, and they're so jumpy. Like, I don't know if they're expecting it to be like, I don't know, like one of those haunted houses where people jump out at you, And I'm like, it's really not that scary.
Or money for scare actors, people.
No, exactly. We're not. Yeah, we're not gonna. There's nothing rigged. You're not gonna open the door and a spider's gonna jump out at you. I mean, you do have spiders in the house, but nothing that's not gonna jump out at you.
No animatronics.
No, exactly. We're not that rich.
Yeah, and going back to it though, with the EVPs and stuff. I mean, I have to agree with you. I feel like you can tell the difference between, most of the time anyway, you can tell the difference between a human voice, flesh whisperer, than spirit. You know, it's got a different, it's hollow. You know, there's no depth in it, you know. But I'll call people out like this. Somebody just whisper, who whispers, say it, nobody whispers. Like, I say it all the time, and I'm just like, you can't whisper. It's that simple.
It is so easy to, though. You know, I understand when people do it. It is, yeah. Yeah, because it's like, you don't want to, especially if you're on a public investigation, you want to, if you don't feel like you're interrupting something, like, especially if it's quiet and you want to say something to your friend, but you want everyone to hear it, you whisper to your friend, and then it gets caught on the tape, and we record it, and we're like, oh my God, what was that? What was that? Like, oh, I'm sorry, whispering.
I try, and I try to be nice about it. I just say, listen, no whispering. If you guys got to talk about something, step outside. I'm like, but, you know, whatever you say, you have to, or at least say, that was me, tag it. I mean, everybody's got to do their part, you know what I mean? I mean, even if, you know, you whisper to somebody, I mean, and you hear it, you got to make sure you say, did somebody just whisper, tag it if you did, you know, and just make sure, you know, you're always listening, and your spidey senses are always on, because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
You know, you're there to try to communicate and pick up on things, and or debunk, you know, I hate to use the word debunk, but debunk stuff. Say, okay, well, you know, that's more private home. You know, when you're going into a known haunted location, I don't think you're looking to debunk anything. You know, you are looking to communicate, but you're also not saying, like, oh, every little bump, knock, twitch, whatever is paranormal as well, you know, so.
Well, yeah, you go into stuff like those investigations more looking for, like really strong EVPs, or like if I get a breath or something, I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, this is definitely paranormal evidence right here. But if I get, you know, a scream, disembodied scream, obviously, I'd be like, all right, well, there you go, that's something.
Yeah. Yeah, the historical locations for me are more of a fun thing.
Yeah. And
private homes are the more important, the more, you know, it is focused. You have there's procedures, there's protocols, there's things you got to do, and, you know, you got to handle them delicately and smartly, and if it's something that's out of your scope of what you do, you need to have somebody that you trust, that you can refer these people out to. You know, private homes are a whole other ball game.
Well, I mean,
but I do like the fun stuff.
The private homes, they're more of a need. Not like we need to do them, but someone needs us to come out there. So someone's asking us for help.
Right.
But the public investigations, that's more of a want. Like, okay, we want to go out there.
Right.
You know, but so when we do private homes, it's a different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're definitely there to help people and get them answers, because you know, we're probably the last people they thought to call, so we're always obviously probably the last resort.
When you get a private case come through, and when you don't have to do an investigation, like you simply help these people just for talking, or even going over there during the day for a prelim, and, you know, talking to these people and explaining things to them and educating. You know, when you don't have to do an investigation, that's a successful case to me. You know, something like that. You always are in contact with them. You always check up on them. But so when you don't have to do an investigation, you can help them just simply by educating them, you know, as the best of your knowledge. That's a win.
Yeah, it's always a good feeling when you can set someone's mind at ease. Especially when they've been dealing with stuff for a long time and it's really terrorizing them. Maybe just go in there and, you know, do a blessing on the house, or maybe sage the house. Give them some kind of like I said, peace of mind. Like, you could even if it's just a mental thing, you know, it helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's like one of the hardest things to change is when somebody has it already in their mind that this is what's going on. So trying to change, the mind is a very powerful, powerful thing. And if you've got yourself convinced that something's in your house and wants to kill you, me coming in there and saying, trying to explain that to you, that person needs to, they're going through something. They're mentally distressed, and I'm not saying because it's a negative thing, it could be just Casper, but to them, they're the unknown. I tell people all the time, if we didn't know what ants were when we're falling across your kitchen, you'd be like, what's up? You'd be scared to death. You wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
People are more afraid of the unknown than anything. And, that type of anxiety in the house can build up and build up and build up, So trying to break through that can be difficult at times, but people have to be willing and want to help. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if they reach out to us, they're like I said, they definitely want the help.
It's something they don't, when you tell them stuff, they don't listen.
True.
Sometimes they, and if they're not listening, we had one girl we told her, stop posting stuff on Facebook and asking everybody's opinions because you're feeding into it. She was convinced she had something negative, and she's like posting, and the stuff wasn't paranormal, but she's posting stuff, and saying it's paranormal, and people are like, oh my God, get out there, burn your house down, blah, blah, blah.
Burn your house down.
And it's like, stop doing that. It's just so counterproductive. Do you want it out, or do you want to live with it forever? I don't know what you want. And I'm coming in there all the time with people over and over again. I said, you have to stop. I'm done. I'm putting them at risk.
Yeah.
So
using it as an attention getter.
So they have to be willing to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. Because you know what you're doing. You go in there and you have the right attitude, like, hey, I want to get rid of this thing, or depending on what the person wants, at least I want to make it so they can live with it. But, if they're egging it on at the same time when you're trying to do what you're trying to do, then it's like, well, why am I out here? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I said to her, she got mad. She got mad at me, and then I said, listen, you're calling us, and you're saying, I want whatever's here to stop doing what it's doing, and whatever. So, and I said, you're telling us that. You're sitting in your house. Okay, let's just say there is something in your house. So you're sitting in there and hearing you, telling us, oh, you want to go, But then again, you're turning around and you're keeping it there by taking the pictures and videoing and recording, and you're communicating. If you're trying to communicate with whatever's there, they're not going to think you wanted to leave. They're not going to think you wanted to leave you alone. They're going to make them leave, but you try to help, make it quiet, and so they're not going to, so then they're going to see me coming in there and say, you don't want to be left alone. What are you coming in here for? And get mad at me.
I talk about mixed messages. It's like, well, okay, this girl wants me to leave. This girl's saying I should stay. What the heck to do?
Right. So,
I mean, all we can do is help. Do what we can to help the people who actually want to be helped.
Yeah, and you have to be knowledgeable enough to recognize when it's something, that it's out of your scope of I don't want to say practice, but what you research and what you're doing. I mean, I don't deal with any negative stuff. So if there was a private case that came my way, I have people that I refer those people to, that I trust, that I know can handle cases like that,
Yeah.
Because again, going back to the integrity and the the reputation that you're going to be sending these people into the hands of somebody else, you have to trust who you're sending them.
Yeah, I know when I've never actually done like a saging or a cleansing before. But I'll go and I'll help my friend Dennis Eslock. He does all that stuff, and I've been in there with him, and I've gone back around with my recorder, and I recorded some stuff that that kind of like made gave me goosebumps because of what I knew we were dealing with in there. But like you said, it's you want to you want to go do these things with people who know what they're doing. He definitely knows what he's doing.
Right.
Because then if you go in there, haphazardly, you're more than likely
Yep.
going to make things worse for the people.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. I mean, and you get to leave. They say they live there, so you have to be very careful with private cases, and you have to trust. You have to have trust in yourself as well. That there's a lot of people out there, a lot of groups out there that just go to get evidence, and that's just so wrong. I just they think they get a haunted house, quote unquote a haunted house, and they just want to go just to get evidence, and leave these people. They cut off communication. I mean, I can't tell you how many countless times people have told me that it's happened to them prior to them contacting, finding their way to me, or however they do. And it's a shame, and that's why I'm in big, huge favor of the people on YouTube that try to put these scammers and fake people, to bed.
Yeah.
It's doing our field such a disservice.
I think there's so many other places to get evidence. They have it to go into a private case to get evidence. It's it's kind of pointless to me. And we'll get evidence to help the people, yes. To help the client, yes. But to get evidence for your own personal gain, I mean, it's kind of like
Wrong.
there's so many other places to go and get evidence. And if you get an EVP from a private investigation, and I get an EVP from a public investigation, they both say the same thing, like say help me or something like that. It's still the same piece of evidence. It's still an EVP.
Right.
But I still get excited when I get evidence. So, like when I go and I get an investigation, I'm like, I get an EVP, and I've gotten lots of EVPs. But every time I get one, I still get super excited about it. It's
Excited.
It's like a drug.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could be listening to audio for like 3.5 hours, and I had it going for 4 hours, and like at 3 hours and 58 seconds, if I get an EVP, I'm like, oh my god, it was good. Yes. I got one.
Yes,
finally. Like a meteor shower. If you ever watched a meteor shower, you see the one go flying across, you're like, oh my god. And then you're like, you can't wait for the next one.
Exactly.
Counting until you get.
You're about to go to bed, and you're like, all right, I'm the last few minutes. I'm gonna listen to this bit of evidence, and then I'm gonna go to sleep. And then you get like a sigh or like a little something that sounds like could be a little kid, like oh my god. Yeah. And then another 4 or 5 hours you're up, listen to EVPs. You forget like oh crap, I gotta go to sleep. That's
Yep. It's my favorite piece of evidence to have, or whatever it is. To me, it's just, I love it. I love EVPs. My favorite piece of equipment is my recorder. That's it. I love it. I recently, investigated Kreischer Mansion in New York, and there was about 11 of us, and for the first time, we were doing a EVP burst. Now, my recorder I let go the entire time. My friend Lourdes was using her recorder to do the burst on. And she had asked a question at one point, and she said, so what is the family business? So I'm listening to my recorder, so I'm listening to all the stuff going on, and listening to the EVP burst, and you don't hear anything. Because we stop it, and you hear us rewind it to listen back to the EVP burst. And she said, if it gets to the part where she asked that question, what is, family business? You hear nothing. Now, we were getting responses, so we were rewinding the recorder and going back, to listen to the EVPs that we got. And that question kept that kept coming up as we were rewinding it to listen to other stuff that we caught. You know, we didn't even hear an answer there. We were just like, so the third time that we rewound this recording, and that question was asked again. So we're listening to the recording of what is the family business. On my recorder that was going, you hear factory work, which is a fact. You know, that the family that was there, they were in factory work. Like, that was their big, huge line of business. They owned a factory. You know, it was all factory work.
Well, I've got we've got about a minute left. I don't want to get cut off or cut off. No, I'm more. I just definitely want to continue the conversation, but Blog Talk will cut us off like, mid sentence. So,
okay.
But I would definitely, because there's a lot of stuff I'd like to talk to you about as far as like your investigations, and I've got a ton of EVPs over here, and I'd love to hear some of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love sharing stuff like that, for sure.
So, I'll definitely be in touch, and we can maybe share some EVPs with each other. But if I want to give you a chance to talk about where people can find you in like 10 seconds. Oh.
Radio. Goodbye.
Damn, didn't even give us like 10 seconds left. Damn. Well, sorry about that, guys. That was not... I had said 10 seconds left on the counter. But apparently Blog Talk was like, you know what? Nope. We're done. So, thank you guys very much. Next week we will be with Jerry and Holly. I think it's going to have our freaking awesome vibe show next week. So we'll be on the show for 2 hours next week. So we'll talk to you then. Goodbye.